At the banquet someone drugged the drinks. I felt sick all over and wanted to find my boyfriend Vincent, but the barrage of comments on the screen made me stop in my tracks. Supporting character Stella is so miserable, she drank from the same bottle as the male lead, and the male lead Vincent is in a room kissing the female lead Renee, they're already at the last step. Yeah, the supporting character couldn't find Vincent, could only return to her hotel room in pain, the door wasn't properly closed, someone with ill intent followed her, then she lost her virtue and had many photos taken, was blackmailed, and in despair jumped to her death. Actually the supporting female could have asked Vincent's younger uncle for help. Uncle Jasper looks like an old fossil on the surface, but he secretly had a thing for the supporting female for years. Later the supporting female committed suicide, Jasper went mad, dealt with those who drugged and assaulted her in secret, and then never married for the rest of his life. I calmed myself, gritted my teeth, and walked toward Jasper's hotel room. My whole body burned with an unbearable heat and my mouth was dry. I forced myself to keep a calm facade, but in reality my limbs were already starting to go soft. I looked at the bottle of wine on the table and realized there was something wrong with it a little too late. I had already drunk a glass, and the drug seemed to be taking effect very quickly. Who would dare spike the drinks at this banquet? Besides, I had seen Vincent drinking from that bottle not long ago, which is why I poured a glass. Thinking of Vincent and the drugged wine made my breathing quicken. If my boyfriend Vincent had been drugged too, he'd definitely feel unwell and go back up to the hotel room. With that in mind, I hurried into the elevator intending to find Vincent. Before I even left the elevator, my vision blurred, then cleared again, and a barrage of chat-like messages appeared before my eyes. The captions, both overt and implied, all said, "The supporting heroine is so miserable, the heroine became the male lead's cure." The gist was that I was the supporting heroine, while the male lead was Vincent, my childhood playmate and boyfriend. The heroine was Renee, the daughter of the Gu family's housekeeper. I knew Renee well, because strictly speaking, she grew up with us too. She had lived in the Gu household since childhood, and it was the Gu family who financed her education. Her mother had worked for the Gu family for a long time, so Renee was very much liked by the Gus. My relationship with Renee wasn't good, because she often played the victim, which made our classmates and friends think I was using my family's influence to bully her. Even Vincent said to me, "Renee is Auntie Cheng's daughter, we've all grown up together. Don't always pick on her. Don't be so jealous, I'm just treating her like a little sister." And at this banquet, Renee was indeed there, brought by Vincent, because I disliked her. Vincent had placed her separately with his brothers. But now I'm drugged, and Vincent and Renee are nowhere to be seen. I asked Vincent's brothers, and they all hemmed and hawed, no definite answer. Recalling the comments I'd just seen, I tightened my grip on my skirt. Forcing myself forward despite the dizziness, I went to Vincent's hotel room door, only to find it wasn't closed at all. There was a gap, and from inside came Renee's breathy moans and Vincent's muffled groans. "Vincent, do you know who I am? I'm not Stella. If you and I do this, Stella will be upset." I kept my head down and stayed silent, and heard Vincent's voice. "You are Renee, my Renee. She and I were just bound by a family marriage, we grew up together, it wasn't love." At those words I trembled and stepped back a few paces, bolting the door and refusing to go any closer. I had thought the comments in the chat were false, but now it seemed. I bit my lip in sorrow and held my tears back. Before I could sink into my grief, my body grew hotter and my consciousness fuzzier. With no other choice, I thought of the person mentioned in the chat. Jasper. Every time I went to the Gu household I would see Jasper, the boy 10 years older than me. Always wearing an expression that never smiled, a face cold and indifferent. The first time I met him, I timidly called out "Little Uncle," then turned and chased after Vincent, shouting, "Vincent, wait for me." As I grew older, when we met again I would call him Uncle politely and restrained. He would nod once and then turn and walk away. I can no longer think clearly, I was already barely holding on. Dragging my increasingly burning body, I forced myself to find Jasper's room. After confirming the room number, I took a deep breath and knocked on the door. After knocking for a long time with no response, I knocked twice more urgently, and called out, "Uncle." "Don't worry, supporting character, Jasper will be right there. He was just in the shower, he heard your voice and put some clothes on to come open the door." Wow. The supporting female noticed the male lead and the female lead were getting it on and immediately switched lovers. So clever. Great choice. Jasper totally adores you. Yeah, actually the ship I root for most is Jasper and Stella. Too bad Stella was unlucky, the author wrote her as cannon fodder, humiliated and driven to suicide. But it's so strange, how did the plot change? If the supporting female goes to Jasper, she won't get written off as cannon fodder. I'm getting more and more excited for what comes next. To be honest, I'm kind of shipping them too. The scrolling comments on the screen kept flying by, but I no longer had the energy to read them. This time the door was finally opened, and I was already leaning against the wall, painfully sinking down. A cold question came from above. "Stella?" Seemingly sensing that something was wrong with me, Jasper helped me up, frowning, and pressed his other hand to my forehead. "Do you have a fever? Why are you so hot?" I leaned weakly against his side, my legs trembling, my voice faint and powerless. "Young uncle. I feel sick. I took the medicine, please help me." My heart pounded like a drum as I forced out the words, a mixture of anxiety and shame churning inside me. Jasper was silent for a moment. "Do you know who I am?" My face flushed, and I stared at him intently. "You're Jasper. Please help me." Jasper carried me back into the room and shut the door. "Okay, I'll help you." From that moment I felt the world spin, waves of sound roaring in my ears, making me lose track of time and space, as if I'd arrived somewhere utterly unfamiliar. I lay on the bed and opened my eyes to look around. It wasn't a hotel room, Jasper must have brought me back to the Gu family old mansion. A cool sensation pressed against my arm. Jasper was wiping the marks on my body with a towel. His lowered lashes cast small shadows beneath his eyes. Even caring for someone, this man looked as focused as if he were signing an important document. "Uncle." I started to say instinctively, only to have him press a fingertip over my lips. "It's time to change how you address me." He lifted the corner of his eye, the top 2 buttons of his white shirt were undone, and at his collarbone was the red mark I had bitten last night in the heat of the moment. "Call me Jasper, or—" His trailing words vanished against my ear as he drew close. "Call me, husband?" Heat spread from my ears to my neck in an instant, and the chaotic memories of last night surged back like a tide. I mumbled in a small voice, "We're not married." "I'm not going to call you that." The man's hot palm clasped my waist, his calloused fingertips tracing the kiss mark on my lower back, his hoarse breaths mingling with whispered sweet nothings. "Then, you can call me brother if you want." The hospital room door was suddenly flung open. Vincent stood in the doorway, drenched, he must have just showered, his hair clinging wet, water dripping from the ends onto the expensive carpet. He stared hard at our entwined hands, his eyes rimmed with red. "Stella. How dare you? Watch your volume." Jasper adjusted the 4-line with casual indifference, pausing when his fingertips skimmed the red marks on my wrist. "You scared her." The red mark was from last night, when I'd clawed at myself in the swell of emotion. It stood out all the more starkly against pale skin. Vincent suddenly staggered and grabbed the doorframe, his Adam's apple bobbing violently. "Last night was an accident, I didn't know about that drink. I didn't even know the woman with me was Renee." "You did know." I cut him off calmly. "I was the one who went looking for you first, I was at your door." "I heard you." Vincent's face went instantly ashen, white as paper. "Do you need me to remind you of what you said back then? You said our connection was merely a family alliance, that you knew she was Renee. But you didn't stop. Vincent, you kept shouting her name." The live comments suddenly started scrolling like mad. "Wow, the supporting character is so decisive." Jasper laughed, "He's so handsome, I love him so much." "Serves Vincent right." On the one hand, he won't give up the engagement with the Sue family, on the other he can't let go of Renee, the one he grew up with. And he says he only sees her as a sister. Why didn't you call her your sister when you were in bed with her? Unbelievable. Jasper suddenly stood up, his 187-centimeter frame brought an overwhelming pressure. He calmly rolled up his sleeves, revealing smoothly toned forearms. You should leave. Also, Vincent, didn't your mother teach you to knock before entering? The air nearly froze. Just then, Vincent's phone began to ring. When connected, Snow, Vincent's mother, spoke on the phone. Vincent, where have you gone? Renee has been crying, hurry back and soothe her. You need to take responsibility for her. As for Stella and your engagement. Sister-in-law. Jasper took the phone directly, his lenses flashed coldly. I spoke with the patriarch, he has already promised Stella to me. Their engagement no longer counts. From now on, watch Vincent, don't let him come near me again. He hung up and tossed the phone back to Vincent. Jasper then drew me into his arms and let his chin rest lightly against the top of my head. Butler, take him home. Vincent stared hard at Jasper, then suddenly snorted in contempt. Uncle, looking at you, you've had designs on Stella for a long time, haven't you? This time it's truly my fault. If Renee and I slept together, I'll take responsibility, but you're 10 years older than Stella, you aren't suitable. Stella only ever sees you as an uncle. I made a hand gesture. Hold on. I know whether he and I are compatible. You are responsible for Renee, and he will be responsible for me. A soft chuckle suddenly reached my ears. Seeing this, Vincent ground his teeth, unwilling to linger, he turned away with a dark expression and left. The live comments erupted like fireworks. Oh my god, I knew it, supporting characters CPs are sweeter than the leads. Vincent's face turned green, ha ha ha. Vincent isn't reluctant to let Stella go because of feelings, he's reluctant to give up the betrothal. With a marriage contract in hand, he'd stand to inherit much more later. If the plot had followed its original course, the supporting heroine humiliated and driven to suicide, the uncle taking revenge then retiring, the entire Gu family would eventually belong to Vincent. Now the storylines changed, and the future is uncertain. By any measure, Jasper comes out ahead. I stopped reading the barrage of comments and, with Jasper keeping me company, slowly fell asleep again. When I woke up this time, it was already midday the next day. The room was dim, I felt awful all over, my lower back and legs still sore and weak. Something was gripping my right hand tightly, and Jasper's voice came to my ear. Don't move. You've got a bit of a fever, and there's a needle mark on the back of your hand. I've already called and told your parents about your herbal treatment. The Sue family and the Gu family will investigate and explain things to you. I've told my parents too, I will take responsibility for you. I blushed when he called me mom and dad and hunched my face into the blanket, nodding a little awkwardly. Jasper asked me again, did you know you were looking for me last night? I nodded. At that, a smile I had never seen before appeared on Jasper's usually cold face. He bent down and kissed my forehead, laughing as he said, I'm very happy you came to me, not someone else. Good girl. Being called baby by Jasper over and over made my face flush and my heart race. I never knew that a man as icy as a glacier could dote on someone with such sweet talk when he was in love. The matter of the drugging at the banquet was investigated quickly by both families, and to everyone's surprise, the one who slipped the drug into the drink was one of Vincent's friends, Jack. His reason was that he liked Renee and had intended the spiked bottle for her. But Vincent, uneasy about Renee, left the dessert I was eating and rushed over to intercept the drink Jack had meant for her. Jack realized something was wrong and left early. By the time Vincent sensed something was off, the drug had already started to take effect. The other brothers saw the problem too, and since they all knew Renee liked Vincent, they wanted to oblige Renee once, so they let Renee take Vincent back to her room to settle things. There wasn't much wine left anyway, just enough for one glass, which I, who had been sent over to find Vincent, drank. Both families sat together, watching the children, and fell into silence. I felt awkward too, because at that moment Jasper was holding my hand. Compared to the ease between Jasper and me, Vincent sitting beside us stared fixedly at our clasped hands without saying a word. Renee wiped her tears, feeling wronged. Well, Stella, Grandpa knows you were hurt this time, but what's done is done. If you don't mind, our Jasper is also a good man. Although he's not quite the right age for you, he has never had a girlfriend until now. You might consider him. Our Vincent did something wrong, but we can't just leave Renee without care now. Stella, let the engagement between you and Vincent be called off. I nodded to show I understood. The barrage of comments on screen flew by. Stella baby, don't listen to the sweet talk from Vincent's mom. Actually Vincent's mother has always preferred Renee, who grew up right in front of her. Now that things have turned out her way, she's the happiest. That said, only the old man Richard's joy is heartfelt. His youngest son Jasper is 30 and still has no girlfriend. He once thought his son might be gay and for a time worried himself sleepless, haha. If you ask me, Jasper is so much better than the male lead Vincent, handsome, devoted, passionate, and gives off that daddy's boy vibe. Stella baby will definitely be very happy with him in the future. Who would understand, in the original plot the lead's romance was pretty sweet, but because the supporting female didn't die, the leads couldn't be sweet anymore. The two families finished discussing the engagement and went their separate ways. Vincent tried several times to say something to me, but each time he was held back by Renee, whose face was full of grievance. I packed my things and moved from my own house into the Gu family's old residence. Although Vincent and I were engaged and I acknowledged him as my boyfriend, we never went any further than that, at most we held hands. Now that the medicine had taken hold, everyone had reached the final stage. The engagement had been set anew, and there wasn't so much left to avoid. Time passed quickly. Vincent was assigned by Grandpa Richard to the branch office. I was also placed into the family corporation. Vincent stood before the floor-to-ceiling window of the branch building. His phone screen showed the 30-second unread voice message from Renee. The phone chimed and chimed, as if it wouldn't stop until it received a reply. Outside, torrential rain lashed down, the glass reflecting the unshakable weariness etched between his brows. Mr. Vincent, Miss Renee called again asking you to pick her up. The secretary hesitated. And, she said the fitting room lock at the mall was broken and while she was trying on clothes she nearly had a wardrobe malfunction and was harassed by a male shopper. She also said the sales assistant laughed at her. This was the 4th time this month. Last time it was coffee spilled on a limited edition bag and she wanted him to go to the counter to argue. The time before that it was a restaurant waiter glancing at her twice and she wanted to complain to the manager. Vincent rubbed his temples and suddenly recalled how Stella had stayed up all night helping him sort the data when a previous project ran into trouble. At that time she had a fever, her nose red at the tip, still helping him proof the reports, and yet he left her because Renee said she felt dizzy. The next day, seeing Stella asleep with her head on the desk, he even blamed her for being inefficient. Let her take a cab home herself, Vincent snapped irritably as he loosened his tie. The light from the crystal chandelier stung his eyes. At that moment a flurry of invisible comment bubbles drifted across Vincent's field of vision. Heaven's way is about reincarnation, people only realize how good something was after it's gone. Back when Stella cleaned up his messes, he still complained she meddled too much. Renee's sanctimonious White Lotus heroine traits are finally showing. Vincent must realize now who the real, true heiress is. Ugh, I used to like the leads, but as the plot chased on it went off track, now the male lead seems like a jerk and the female lead stupid. I'll just go watch the sweet lives of the supporting couple over on the other side. Meanwhile, on the other side, the Gu Corporation glowed brightly through the curtain of rain. Jasper was sitting with me, going over the quarterly reports. Under the warm yellow desk lamp, his long fingers danced across the keyboard, the cuffs of his shirt casually rolled up, revealing the stargazer blue cufflinks I had given him for New Year. Here. He suddenly took the pen from my hand, guiding my hand to circle something on the report. There's an issue with the supplier's accounts, look at this variance. My ears warmed, the breath from his words brushed my earlobe. I reached out and pushed his face. Too close, mind your image. 3 months earlier, when I took over the family business and was in over my head, it was Jasper who stayed with me, working late into the night every day. Even the business associates around us would tease about it. Mr. Jasper, are you turning corporate warfare into a romance simulation game? Jasper nowadays no longer seemed as icy as before, the people around him even began to tease him. I remembered the old Jasper, back when I still called him uncle. He would always stare at me without saying a word. Thinking back now, maybe he was restraining himself. I found it funny and couldn't help but laugh out loud. What are you laughing at? So happy. He patted my head. I shook my head. Not laughing at anything, I'm just happy to be with you. After work it was already late at night. I had thought that after Vincent and I broke off our engagement, Renee would behave herself and quietly wait to marry into the wealthy family. But maybe it really was like the comments said, without Renee and Jasper as cannon fodder, the protagonists would lose their foil. The more blissful we are, the more miserable they must be. We had only just fallen asleep when the phone beside us, forgotten unmuted, rang. Without looking I answered and put it on speaker, closing my eyes as I spoke. Who is this? Vincent's tired voice came through the line. Don't mess around. I handed the phone to you, ask Stella yourself. I haven't seen her since I broke off the engagement. If you have questions, ask them yourself, you never believe what I say anyway. Jasper, who had woken up beside me, heard the conversation coming from the speaker. We were both a little annoyed. You lot stirring up jealousy and wasting our rest time? The long-absent barrage of comments suddenly reappeared. How did I never notice the heroine here has hysterical woman vibes, in the middle of the night suddenly sobbing, saying she dreamed Vincent was secretly meeting the supporting female and regretting something. Please, it was a dream, not real. Demanding the hero explain himself. Explain what, seriously? LOL, I'm dying. Stella and Jasper were both dozing off and got woken up, they're probably furious right now. Jasper stopped listening to the argument on the other end and just said coldly, Vincent, if you two are sick, go get treatment, don't bother Stella. After he spoke he hung up, and while he was at it he blocked them. I snorted and hugged Jasper, teasing him. Uncle Jasper even blocks people when he gets mad? Jasper tossed his phone aside and held me tight. Go to sleep, it's late. Tomorrow Grandpa's asking us to go to Bayouan, it may be to discuss our marriage. I nodded and burrowed into his arms. That night I slept soundly. The next day I went to the North Garden, my parents and the old man Richard sat together discussing the wedding date and preparations. Jasper nodded from time to time, offering opinions and ideas, while I was off in space. After the two families had agreed on the wedding arrangements, Jasper left the North Garden to handle business at the company. Meanwhile, the news that my engagement to Vincent had been called off and that my marriage had been switched to Jasper had already spread among our mutual friends in the same circle. A wedding between two prominent families. So exciting, so exciting. I was just watching the plot. Renee seems to be pregnant, and Vincent is taking her to prenatal checkups. Because of this, the old man is anxious to make the younger son marry first, otherwise it would look bad if the younger generation married before him. Renee really is the heroine, she hit the mark on the first try. By the way, Stella slept with Jasper too, so why isn't she pregnant? Maybe Jasper is too old and can't perform well. Seeing that barrage of comments, my face flushed between dark and red. Nonsense, it's all nonsense. The comments were a chaotic mess, so I didn't continue watching. A few hours later, at lunchtime, Vincent drove back with Renee. Snow came along too. As soon as she got out of the car she went to support Renee, her face full of worry. Hey, Vincent, honestly, you drive so fast, aren't you even a little concerned now that Renee is pregnant? Vincent pinched the bridge of his nose and nodded, saying he understood. When they entered the north courtyard, the three of them saw Jasper and me sitting there keeping the old man company, and their expressions shifted. Jasper and Stella are here too. Snow sounded a little nervous and embarrassed. Dad called me to discuss the wedding between me and Stella. Hearing that, Vincent went pale, clenched his fists and said nothing. Renee, on the other hand, asked curiously when it would be. The wedding is set for the 8th day of next month. It's an auspicious day. This is the invitation Dad just showed me. It's quite pretty. We'll use this invitation for everyone. I studied the invitation card closely. It really was beautiful. Jasper pushed the gilded invitation across to Vincent. The burnished double happiness character pricked at his eyes. Snow glanced at the card as well but didn't say much. Instead she took Renee's hand and said happily, "Dad, we should pick a good date for Renee and him too. Renee's pregnant, we can't wait too long, a big belly won't look good in a wedding dress." Seeing this, Jasper and I left the north courtyard first. Halfway there we were stopped by Vincent, who had hurried after us. "Uncle," he said, "may I have a few words alone with Stella?" I smiled and tightened my hold on Jasper's hand. "He's my future husband, is there anything he can't hear? If you've got something to say it quickly. If not, we're leaving." Vincent stared at me intently and asked, "You once said you would marry me. Back then, did you really love me? I admit I did many wrong things before and neglected your feelings, if..." I signaled for him to stop. There was no need for more words. "Vincent, there are no what-ifs in this world. And besides, Renee is already carrying your child, you need to learn to be a man, and also how to be a good father. Renee cares about you a great deal, otherwise she wouldn't have been jealous and resentful of me all these years. Many things aren't only her fault, yours play a part too. Don't shift the blame onto others. There are no hypothetical if-only scenarios in this world. No, if this hadn't happened then what would have?" Night fell and the sky darkened. Not far off a household let off fireworks. Jasper and I left hand in hand, saying no more. Vincent looked up at the sky full of sparks and suddenly remembered that summer night when he was 17. A girl in a white dress chased fireflies in the garden. When she turned to smile at him, her eyes were brighter than the stars. And what was he doing? Oh, he was teaching Renee how to fold paper boats and set out lanterns. There were so many things to prepare for the wedding. I was trying on wedding rings and felt that every style looked beautiful. Jasper, his face full of tender smiles, told the counter to buy every ring I had chosen in my size. Oh my God! Mr. Jasper is the man of my dreams. Just came from Vincent's place. He and Renee went for a prenatal checkup. The doctor said there are 2 babies, but maybe because of abnormal hormone secretion during pregnancy, Renee keeps losing her temper. Vincent is being driven crazy by Renee, ha 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 ha. Have the male and female lead switched from a sweet story mode to a mutual torment mode. Ah, don't get off topic. I'm just saying, if heaven would grant me a daddy-type boyfriend, rich, handsome, and emotionally stable, that would be amazing. I really want to become Stella. But I'm really happy, Stella gets to have a normal life that belongs to her. Not a life ruined by being dragged down with the leads and sacrificed by the author. On the wedding day, guests filled the house. It was a scene of great bustle. Renee's belly, carrying 2, had already become quite prominent. Perhaps seeing my attire, she gripped Vincent's arm warily, not letting him leave her side. "Vincent, you must give me a wedding grander than this." Vincent looked toward the figure at the end of the red carpet. I wore the floor-length wedding gown he had once complained was too flamboyant, a veil studded with real diamonds, each step feeling as if I were treading on a river of stars. And Renee kept chattering on, "My bouquet has to be bigger than hers. The wedding car." Enough. Vincent shrugged off her hand, suddenly remembering last year's Stella birthday. She had cautiously asked him if he could join her for a meal, but he had hurried off because Renee said she was afraid of thunder. It had only been a few months, so how could everything have changed? Vincent felt powerless, but given how things stood, there was nothing he could do to change any of it. When the priest began to read the vows, Jasper suddenly dropped to one knee and pledged himself to me. "I will love only you in this life. If that is a lie, may I be shattered to pieces and cursed by heaven." My eyes were full of hot tears, but I was made up, so I held them back and didn't cry. Of course I knew he meant what he said. The livestream comments were flying by at breakneck speed. His words are 100% genuine. I didn't expect the plot to change so much this time, but the supporting couple is really great, they deserve a happy ending. How lovely, a match made in heaven, perfectly suited. Suddenly, amid the crowd's exclamations, he rose, lifted the veil and kissed me. At last, you are mine. He pressed against Stella's lips and murmured, from the moment you fell into my arms at 18, I've wanted to kiss you in a scene like this. Everyone in the hall was laughing, only Vincent stood staring blankly at the scene on stage. The little girl from his memories kept clinging to him, and Vincent called her name over and over. At that time, he preferred the gentle, fragile Renee who inspired pity. So many times he abandoned Stella and chose Renee. But now, it was Stella who had abandoned him. 3 years later, the wisteria at the Gu family mansion was in full bloom. I held my daughter in front of the full-length mirror, and Jasper was crouched on the floor tying our son's shoelaces. I don't know if it's really like the barrage of comments says, about some control group. After Renee gave birth to twin sons, I also got pregnant, also twins, but mine were a boy and a girl. Truly fitting for the male and female leads and the supporting male and female, destined rivals haha, always neck and neck haha, but a boy-girl twin is even flashier to show off. Vincent is especially envious of Stella's daughter, they say she's exactly like Stella as a child. The two sons of the leads are also very handsome, okay. It's just that Renee has to compare everything to Stella, it's getting a bit annoying now. But Renee only does it because she cares about Vincent so much, otherwise there's no reason to target Stella. One can only hope Stella deals less with that couple in the future. The barrage of comments still popped up now and then to assert their presence, seeing them made me feel oddly at home. The little dumpling in my arms swung its tiny feet and kicked the crystal button flying. The man's stern profile beside me seemed slightly softened by the morning light. Mr. Jasper, you have a video conference with Switzerland at 10. The assistant reminded us softly at the door. I smiled and poked the back of his neck. They said Zhang, the aide, would go with you today. No. He stood up and wrapped me in his arms, a breath of mint brushing my ear. I promised to be with you and the baby all day today. Hurry and get busy, you don't need to keep me company. We'll stay at home and go nowhere, wait until you finish work and come home to eat. By evening, Jasper returned to the old house, his face worn with fatigue. Thanks for your hard work. I hugged him to soothe him. For you and the babies, it's no trouble at all, I just keep thinking about you all while I'm working. Jasper feigned grievance, pressing his cheek tightly against mine. Just as I was about to speak, our son tugged at my skirt. Little Bun held up a fairy tale book and shouted, Daddy, read. Little sister wants to hear, The Prince Saves the Princess. Jasper gathered the children into his arms on the sofa, and his low voice rose. The evil dragon had actually long ago turned the castle into a candy house and watched the princess dance in the rose garden every day. Until one day the princess grabbed the dragon's tail and shouted, Ride the dragon to find the stars. The daughter suddenly finished for him, and Jasper and I both froze. Applause came from outside the yard. The old man came in leaning on his cane, smiling. Little miss has a good memory, she remembers the ending. Stella, open the book and look at the author's name. I flipped open the hardcover to the title page. The author bio read, Mr. Jasper, who has had a crush on Mrs. Tai for 12 years. In the illustration, the princess's gown had patterns of stars and moons, and the dragon's eyes looked uncannily like Jasper's. As dusk thickened, the old master had the butler bring another special gift. Inside the sandalwood box lay a yellowed yearbook. On my page at 18 I had written, I want to watch the aurora with my brother. Jasper took my hand and pressed it to his chest. I'm your brother too. He flipped the contacts page over. On the back there were fresh ink marks that read, Mr. Jasper, 30, wants to take his wife to make up their honeymoon. My eyes grew wet, and I laughed as I threw myself into his arms. A golden marquee suddenly swept across the night sky. In the original, the supporting female character's grave is already 2 meters high, now she's actually going to Iceland to see the aurora. The system just notified me that this world has detached from the novel's framework and become an independent spacetime. Throw confetti. The real ending is a love that even breaks through the dimensional barrier. I stood on tiptoe and kissed my lover, and the barrage of comments that had once foretold my fate turned into stardust at that very moment, scattering into the eternity of the life we would spend together.